For decades, the path to sneaker immortality was a one-way street, paved in Oregon with a swoosh. To be a legend in the NBA meant being chosen. Chosen by the sneaker giants, Nike or Adidas. For an NBA player, having a signature shoe wasn't just a product, it was a sign that you had arrived. Michael Jordan and his Jordan brand built an empire on it. Kobe Bryant cemented his legacy with his Kobe's. It was a way for your legacy to go beyond physically playing the game and making an impact through your own story.
In 2012, Dwyane Wade was at a career crossroads that few understood. He had started with Converse, a brand trying to recapture its old magic. His first shoe, the Wade one, was a legitimate hit. A design inspired by the predatory grace of a shark, with mesh gill-like inlays and a ferocity that matched his game. But by the fourth model, the magic was gone. Wade, dissatisfied with the design and performance, left. He landed where every player dreams of landing. Jordan Brand. He was the new face, the heir apparent carrying the Jumpman legacy on the court. It was supposed to be the final stop.
Saw something else on the horizon. He did the unthinkable. He left Jordan Brand for Li-Ning, a Chinese athletic company that at the time was a relative unknown in the American market and struggling financially even at home. It wasn't just a career move, it was a seismic shift. This wasn't a rookie taking the only deal he could get. This was a champion, a certified superstar turning his back on the sneaker pantheon to gamble on a vision. He wanted what Jordan had at Nike in the 80s, a chance to build, not just endorse. A place where he wasn't just another star on the roster, but the foundation. Li-Ning offered him that chance with his own brand within a brand, Way of Wade. It came with creative control, a lifetime contract, and a legacy he could call his own. He wasn't just wearing a shoe, he was building a lane, and in doing so, he chiseled the first major crack in the great sneaker wall. Wade didn't just open a door, he laid down a blueprint. And other stars, tired of waiting in line, started to read it. Klay Thompson, an indispensable part of a dynasty, signed a staggering 10-year, $80 million deal with Anta. Jimmy Butler, after reportedly taking a 75% pay cut just for the privilege of wearing Jordans, left when he was never offered a signature model. Li-Ning gave him one almost immediately. Andrew Wiggins and Lou Williams found homes at Peace.
Before Dwyane Wade's rebellion, before Kyrie Irving's creative takeover, there was Yao Ming. When the Houston Rockets made him the #1 pick in 2002, he wasn't just an NBA prospect, he was a cultural phenomenon. His arrival represented the first true collision between the NBA's global ambitions and China's massive untapped market. Yao wasn't just a player, he was an ambassador carrying the hopes of over 1 billion people on his shoulders. The numbers were staggering. His first game against Shaquille O'Neal was watched by an estimated 200 million people in China alone, more than most Super Bowls. His sneaker journey reflected the era. He started with Nike, but soon signed a multi-year deal with Reebok, a brand looking to challenge the swoosh's dominance. While he never had a signature line with the same cultural cachet as others, his presence was transformative. He humanized the NBA for China and commercialized China for the NBA. He proved that a Chinese athlete could not only compete, but dominate. He was an 8-time All-Star in 8 seasons played, a statistic that borders on the mythical. Yao's success, coupled with NBA Commissioner David Stern's aggressive global expansion strategy, laid the commercial groundwork for everything that was to come. He made the NBA a staple in China, creating the very market that brands like Anta and Li-Ning would one day seek to conquer. He was the pioneer who made the subsequent revolution possible.
Hey, these weren't late career cash outs, these were calculated power play. The proposition from these rising Eastern brands was simple but revolutionary. At Nike, you're an endorser. With us, you're a partner. You'll have your own shoe, a voice in the design, and a seat at the table. Like, for players outside the absolute top tier of LeBron and Durant, it was an offer the Giants were no longer making. While this player rebellion was happening on the court, a corporate revolution was happening behind the scenes. These Chinese brands weren't just throwing money at stars, they were fundamentally transforming their businesses. Anta, a company that began in 1991 making budget shoes in China's factory heartland, embarked on one of the most brilliant turnarounds in modern business. Facing an identity crisis and warehouses full of unsold product, they made a high-risk pivot. They moved to a direct-to-consumer model, gaining control over their brand. Then in a stroke of genius, they acquired the struggling Italian brand brand Fila for the Chinese market, repositioning it as a premium high fashion line. Fila became a massive success, giving Anta a war chest and a foothold in the high-end market.
For this rebellion to be sustainable, the products had to be more than just a paycheck. They had to perform. For years, the Made in China label on sneakers carried a stigma of being a knockoff or a budget pair. Shedding that reputation required a massive, deliberate investment in technology and design. Anta pledged over 4 billion yuan to global research and development, opening design centers and hiring top talent away from their Western competitors. They developed proprietary technologies like Nitro Edge foam, competing directly with Nike's Zoom Air and Adidas's Boost. Li-Ning poured resources into its boom and dry foam cushioning platforms, creating shoes that offered elite traction and comfort. This wasn't just about catching up, it was about innovating. But the most sophisticated part of their strategy wasn't in a lab, it was in the boardroom. Anta's founder, Ding Shizhong, didn't want to just build a bigger Anta, he envisioned a multi-brand empire, similar to LVMH in luxury fashion. This strategy allows a parent company to own a portfolio of different brands, each targeting a specific consumer at a different price point. It's how you can sell a $50 sneaker and a $900 jacket under the same corporate umbrella without diluting either brand. In 2009, Anta acquired the China trademark for Fila, rebuilding it into a high-end fashion powerhouse. Then came the masterstroke, the 2019 acquisition of Amer Sports for 4.6 billion euros. Through this single deal, Anta became the owner of globally respected brands like Arc'teryx, Salomon, and Wilson. This strategy was brilliant. Instead of spending decades trying to convince Western consumers that Anta was a premium brand, they simply bought the brands they already trusted. It gave them immediate global credibility and a diversified revenue stream that funded their aggressive push into basketball.
And as the products got better and the business strategy got smarter, a powerful cultural tailwind began to blow. The rise of these brands coincided perfectly with a profound shift in Chinese consumer identity known as Guochao, or national trend. This wasn't just simple patriotism, it was a deeper cultural awakening. A younger generation of consumers who grew up in an economically powerful and globally connected China no longer looked to the West as the sole arbiter of style and success. They began to celebrate their own heritage, aesthetics, and craftsmanship. Guochao was about valuing homegrown products not because they were Chinese, but because they were excellent and reflected a unique cultural identity. Western brands struggled to connect with this movement authentically. Their attempts often felt like shallow marketing exercises. A dragon graphic here, a red and gold colorway there. But for Anta and Li-Ning, it was in their DNA. They could weave traditional Chinese motifs, philosophies, and stories into their designs in a way that felt genuine. When Anta designed the champion dragon uniforms for the 2024 Paris Olympics, it was more than just clothing. It was a statement of national pride. This cultural resonance gave them an edge that no amount of global marketing from Nike or Adidas could easily counter. Buying Anta was no longer just a budget choice, it was a cultural one.
Today, this is no longer a trend. It's a pipeline. Younger players are paying attention. RJ Hampton signed with Li-Ning before he was even drafted. Brands are thinking long-term, building with athletes from the ground up. The perception has changed. In comment sections and on courts, you no longer hear jokes about knockoffs. You hear genuine praise. These are my go-tos now. The traction is better than my Nikes. What was once a quiet movement has become a global force. Chinese brands aren't trying to be the next Nike. They are building something different, more collaborative, more player-driven, and more in tune with the world where athletes recognize their own power. The question is no longer if a generational rookie will choose one of these brands first. The question is when, because this story was never just about shoes. It was about seeing a path that no one else saw and having the courage to walk it. It was about ownership, and in the new world of basketball, ownership is the ultimate legacy.